Topping Talks. 105 hours a week, can't be beat. Welcome to Topping Talks. Topping Talks is a Topping Tribune production, and today's episode is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies and ExpressVPN. Topping Talks is also on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Stitcher. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency in security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Have to say, quite handsome and brilliant. If you're a business in Texas and could use a hand, you can reach us at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, are you part of the 3.6% of Americans who still care about their privacy? If you are, then perfect. ExpressVPN can assist. Even though 96% of the stats are made up on the spot, ExpressVPN does give a 100% guarantee via their 30-day back money guarantee. Now, without further ado, I'm proud to say today I'm interviewing Dave Smith, who is the co-founder of Engineering11 and CTO of CNECT. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Dave.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to be here.
It's a privilege. So I know kind of winding back the clock a couple of years, but how do you first get into IT?
Yeah. So, I started out of college trying to do a few little things on my own, kind of a dumb kid thing, and didn't work out very well. So I got a job at Bell & Howell. At the time, Bell & Howell owned a company called UMI, University Microfilms. University Microfilms was started up by the guy who invented microfilm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he invented microfilm for the purpose of sneaking secrets out of Germany in World War II.
Yeah.
So it was a really fascinating kind of start to a company. Really fascinating guy and really fascinating company. Mm-hmm. So he actually, I think he was in Germany and he was helping sneak little, pictures of documents out of the country to the U.S. On really small film so they could hide it very easily.
Oh, people don't realize that big of a breakthrough. I mean, when they say microfilm, it literally is taking like a newspaper and condensing it down to the head of a needle in terms of the size delta, shrinking it down. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's really pretty cool. So he after the war, he started this company called UMI, University Microfilms Inc., out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Mm-hmm. And he, ended up basically supplying microfilm and the machines to every library in the U.S., probably around the world, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was, a great product, and it lasted for a very long time. Right. So when I started UMI, Bell & Howell in the early 90s, they were starting to digitize it. Mm-hmm. So the first product that they had was a CD-ROM based product.
Oh, really?
So they produced. What they did was they invented machines that would read the microfilm and digitize it and then stamp it onto a CD-ROM.
So would it still be the small form factor on the CD-ROM, and then when you put in a computer, it would explode the image, making it a lot bigger? Or how did that work kind of tech-wise?
Yeah, so once all of the images basically were stored on the CD-ROM, it was actually a combination of images and text. Mm-hmm. So when they digitized it, they took all of the pictures and then kind of OCR'd all of the text into...
What's OCR, just in layman's terms?
Optical character recognition.
Oh, cool, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
So they OCR'd all of the the text from newspapers and periodicals and magazines and everything they have on the microfilm, and that could go into like a full text search engine kind of thing or a database. So then the end result was when you put one of these CD-ROMs into your computer, through our software that could read them, you could see all of the content on your screen, and then you could search for things using keywords. Standard full text search, kind of like with Google is the most recognized full text search engine on the planet. This was before Google, before Yahoo. So
that's revolutionary.
Yeah, it was cool. We ended up evolving that over time. So the CD-ROM product turned into CD-ROM in jukeboxes. And I don't know if you remember jukeboxes.
I did one, yeah.
Yeah, so they seem so ridiculous nowadays to think about it, but they were really large jukeboxes with a big carousel, and it would hold, I think, 240 CD-ROMs.
240?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it had a big carousel in the middle, and it had 4 actual CD-ROM drives mounted, and the software would make it spin to a particular CD, and there's a little arm that would push the CD out into the drive.
Like a jukebox.
Yeah, it was a jukebox for CD-ROM, and that was a client server product. So that was obviously a little bit ahead of the internet.
So is that like for their backups, or was that for active data, or?
No, so if you think about a library situation, and libraries were the largest customer for UMI, for microfilm, and for CD-ROM. But there were other industries, but the large percentage was libraries. So if you go to the library and you sit at a computer,
Yeah.
and you want to search periodicals, or you want to search dissertations or newspapers or whatever, instead of walking over to the rack of CDs and finding one you think might be interesting, you could just search, and the signals would go over the internet, or not the internet, just the network to the back end server, and the server would drive the jukebox and find the right CDs for you.
That's ingenious.
Yeah.
It sounds light years faster than, I'm guessing before, was it similar to a traditional book where you have to go to what do you call the things where it has all the little mini cards in it?
Yeah.
What's it called?
The card catalog.
Thank you. Yes, the card catalog. I remember those old massive displays of the card catalogs, or the nice wooden boxes. There's basically like a shelf with 100 or 200 of those little boxes. You pull it out and you have all the cards in there. You go in there, and then you would find the book if you're lucky.
That's right. Exactly.
Which I think nowadays kids might only know that because of that infamous scene in Ghostbusters all those years ago, where cards all start flying out at the same time because the ghost is doing it. I think that's the only pop culture reference when it comes to index cards for fun trivia facts.
That's right.
And then, sorry, go ahead.
So then that evolved into an internet product, towards kind of the end of my time at, Bell and Howell UMI. So now all of that's available on the internet, obviously, and
Oh yeah.
just online through the browser or whatever. So.
Then where do you go from there?
Yeah, so towards the end of my time at that company at UMI, I was approached to do a side hustle project, and I was really open to it. Thought it'd be really fun to do that. So this guy came to me that wanted a Windows application that would produce provider directories for print and web from a mainframe spool file. So, and before this product, and there might have been a few others out at the time, but this is, one of the early products in this space, where it used to take an enormous amount of time to produce provider directories at health plans. And if people don't know what provider directories are, they were what your health plan would send to you in the form of a phone book, so you would know what doctors were in your network. This is before the internet, obviously.
Yeah, so a phone book for doctors, basically, so you can know exactly, where to go.
That's right.
That's pretty cool.
That's right, yeah. So we developed that, got it out there, and it sold, made some number of deals, and, that was kind of rolling. And the same guy had a different idea. He had an idea that he wanted to web enable, and this is in the early mid 90s, coming up, like 94, 95, somewhere in there. And he wanted to build a platform that would web enable a claim system. So the claim systems that, again, all the health plans use, it's their full back end. It's how they process all the claims and deal with all their members and all that kind of stuff that health plans have to do. And he wanted to build a layer for it that would web enable transactions on the back end system.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's ingenious.
yeah, it was a really good idea, and it ended up being decently successful. And it was at a time when that was a wide open market too, because a lot of people at that time didn't have the skill set to develop web technologies, or even really understand how it worked. A lot of people at that time were still either client server or mainframe or midframe or that kind of thing. So it ended up being a pretty neat product, pretty valuable product. So So anyway, so he ended up getting funding for that, and he and I, moved to Dallas, Texas, and started this company called HealthWeb.
Mhm. So what was it like moving to Texas? Or what was your favorite part of making that big trip down?
Oh, the trip wasn't fun. I drove with all the stuff in my car. I
Oh,
didn't have a lot
geez.
at the time, but uh, the drive wasn't great. But it was, I got here, and you know, the best part of moving to Texas was the weather for me.
Oh, yeah.
So, growing up in Michigan, it was cold. It's gray a lot of the year,
Oh, yeah.
and I was kind of done with that at that point in my life anyway. The weather, so um, I just loved the weather when I got here. I
Oh, yeah.
remember calling home to everybody I could think of on my first New Year's Day when I was sitting outside in flip flops and asking what they were doing.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm just hanging out with flip flops.
Just chilling.
Yeah. So no, I really liked Texas a lot, and I've been really happy here. It was a great move, but yeah, it was a pretty fun time
A great place to start a business.
for sure.
Oh, yeah. And tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we got here, and it was really just he and I in a very small room, probably the size of this room.
Oh, really?
And he's on one side at a desk making phone calls and trying to sell things we don't have yet.
Yeah.
And I'm on the other side trying to build this thing.
Yeah.
So we got a nice kind of MVP out, a nice version of it out that worked, and we were able to get that going at a kind of a friendly health plan. People we do there, and rounded it out a little bit, and we ended up obviously hiring people and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, so we we had a really fast growth cycle there at HealthWeb, where over the course of a couple years we ended up with somewhere in the neighborhood of 15, I think, paying customers.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and these are large health plans, or decently
Oh, yeah.
sized health plans that it was a decently expensive product. I can't remember what it costs now, but we were doing okay.
Yeah.
We had started the business, we got it off the ground, we had customers, we had good software, and we were running.
Yeah.
And then a company called TriZetto bought us. So TriZetto Healthcare Products, I think is the official name, was relatively small at that time. A really brilliant guy named Jeff Margolis started it. He's the CEO. And from my recollection, there might have been 40 or 50 employees at TriZetto at the time, possibly something in that neighborhood. They did some consulting things. They had a few products, and actually one of the co-founders, who's really kind of a silent partner, was the guy who invented. I don't know if he invented it, but he was the guy who brought up the ATM network, which
Oh,
is
really?
another little fascinating
Yeah.
piece of the story there. But anyway, so TriZetto bought us, and it was a really fun ride. And this is like '99
Oh,
when
yeah.
the internet is just
Boom.
starting to boom.
Yeah.
And it's just rolling. We ended up going IPO,
Nice.
and we were a legit company, legit revenue, really good growth cycle, great leadership, all that kind of stuff. And but along with everybody else, our market cap just skyrocketed. Probably unreasonably so.
Yeah.
And so prior to the crash, the subsequent crash to the boom, TriZetto was able to buy a number of companies through acquisition, use that capital, and really become a powerhouse in the healthcare field. So
That's awesome.
yeah. So over the course of, I was there for 10 years, and I learned a ton. I was able to, do what I love at the beginning and start a company, build a software product from scratch. We ended up, when I left TriZetto 10 years later, I think we're doing 300 million in revenue, publicly traded company.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, lots of employees.
Yeah.
I think we had 1,500, 2,000 employees
Oh,
across,
wow.
across the U.S. in different offices. So,
That's huge.
yeah.
That's a congrats. That's an amazing accomplishment. That's
Oh,
awesome.
thanks. Yeah, I mean, I did contribute and participate. I had a blast. I learned a lot. It was, a great team, and it was really an amazing company. A lot of people that grew up with TriZetto at that time ended up being, starting their own companies or having a lot of success. So it was this weird time in history, and great leadership, great culture, and a lot of people there ended up being pretty successful down the road, which is really pretty interesting.
What was the biggest takeaway, or what was the most profound thing you learned, or most helpful thing you learned throughout the experience?
Um, there's a lot that I learned. I think when you're young and you think you can conquer the world and you think everything's easy, it's really a level of just youthful ignorance, and it's a good thing to have
Oh,
because you want to take risks and do things. When I walked away, I realized how what it takes to build a company. How much work it takes, how much capital it takes, how many people it takes, how much coordination, how much teamwork, the things that have to go in the recipe to make a company great, was probably my biggest, most profound takeaway.
Oh, yeah. And those are important skills. I know you utilize them a couple more times.
Yeah, for sure.
And then where do you go from there?
Yeah, so towards the end of my time at TriZetto, I'm a hockey player. I've played hockey my entire life. I still play.
Awesome.
At least I try to play.
What position?
Well, I was
Or
as a
decouple?
kid, I was a centerman. So
Yeah.
I played center. Nowadays, I'll play wherever's needed.
Yeah.
Any type of forward. I'll play any position other than goalie.
Yeah.
At this point.
That's awesome. Where do you play at? Are you part of a couple leagues, or?
Yeah, so the Dallas Stars operate, I don't know, 8 rinks or so around the Metroplex. So there's rinks in Farmers Branch, Valley Ranch, McKinney, spotted across town, Richardson, Plano, Euless. So there's one in Mansfield now. So yeah, there's a number of rinks. I usually play either at Farmers Branch. I played a lot of my time there, Valley Ranch, in the early days, and play at McKinney on Sundays now. So it's kind of all over the Metroplex.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't been on a hockey ice rink in quite many years, but I still finally remember going skating going up.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good sport. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, so the hockey came up because I was kind of telling you about my transition from TriZetto to Vivere.
Yeah.
Towards the end of my time at TriZetto, my job became a lot of travel. I was going office to office to office around the country. And while it was great and rewarding and everything else, I had young kids at the time. So my kids were in elementary school, and I wanted to stop traveling, as much. And so at the same time, a guy on my hockey team named Michael Nadu had started a company called Elite Wellness. And his idea was that, he's really passionate about health and wellness and all that kind of stuff. And he started this company because he wanted to help people, and he's passionate about it. So he started out like on the personal wellness side, quickly realized, I need to get into corporate wellness. So we kind of transitioned over there, and he had been able to sign up, I'm going to say 10-ish customers locally, and he started to do pretty well. And he started talking to me about needing technology. So, and it was really friend to friend talking.
Yeah.
I'd give you advice, I'll advise you, I'll do whatever. And through whatever, number of months, it turned into, come work for me. And,
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and, just at that time, I was ready for a change anyway, and this sounded really exciting. So, I left TriZetto and came to be the CTO at, let me think about this. So it was Elite Wellness first when I moved over there. Shortly after that, we renamed into Vivere.
Oh, cool. And then what was the company? Or what do they do, kind of in layman's terms?
So Vivere provides workplace wellness solutions through technology mostly. So things like, excuse me, I have to.
Oh, no worries.
So things that at work, if you have health insurance, a lot of companies have an accompanying wellness program where if you have a chronic condition, or if you want to learn how to lose weight, or you want to generally get better, make better lifestyle decisions and learn how to do those things, that's usually what the wellness programs do.
Oh, yeah.
Typically, there's a points program set up with it where if you earn a certain amount of points in the wellness program, you get certain rewards from that. And a lot of times it's less expensive contributions or deductibles. So that's kind of what it does. We had like challenges. We had chronic condition programs. We had all kinds of things around your health and wellness, basically. So
That's
nutrition
awesome.
things, yeah.
Gotta make sure you get. That's one of the hardest things is how do you gain the attention of someone where you want to help them do a security compliance training or a health initiative. I mean, giving them incentives with those points helps out a lot. I mean, I remember when I used to work at HPE, we had a similar software program or software suite. We would sign in, tell them our steps for the day, and it'd help us get lower premiums and all that kind of good stuff. So definitely, it works. Just got to keep them interactive and interesting.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. So yeah, we had all the fitness trackers and all that stuff wired into the platform. So yeah,
It's a brilliant idea too, and it gets us race down lower because it keeps people healthier.
yeah.
It's win-win.
I always kind of said it's the best thing going until they come up with magic drops, or
Oh yeah.
something like that, where you can, everybody can be healthy without doing anything.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, science is getting close to magic. We're not there yet.
Not yet.
Maybe someday.
Hopefully
Just
soon.
take one pill and you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and just jacked and you're ready to go.
That's right. That's the dream.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, what was your favorite part of working at that company?
So Viveri was just a blast. It was really a microcosm of a really cool company, a really cool culture. We grew really fast as well. We had I don't remember how many years, but like 4 years of doubling.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and that was another thing where I was kind of fortunate to hit a timing cycle where it wasn't a well-known thing, and by the time I was at the end, towards the end of it, everybody knew about it. Everybody had one.
Yeah.
So part of it's timing, but part of it's just Michael's entrepreneurial spirit, and it was a fun company to work for. And again, we went from very, very small, very few people, pretty unsophisticated company to a pretty mature company. I think we're somewhere around 50 million a year.
Oh wow.
When Virgin Pulse bought us, something in that range, 50, 60 million.
That's awesome. And then, what was it like working through that transition when Virgin bought you guys out or acquired you?
Yeah, I enjoyed the whole ride, to be honest with you. There are stress points when you're getting bought, and everybody wonders if they're going to have a job and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people didn't have a job, and it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And when companies get bought, those things happen. But I was honestly really surprised by how welcoming Virgin Pulse was. I was really surprised at the culture they had, and just that company too had a great culture. I think a really, really good leadership team at that time, and for me, it ended up being pretty fun.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome. And then, what was it like? Was the next company the one you started, Engineering11, or where do you go from there?
yeah. So towards the end of my time at really Virgin Pulse, so Virgin Pulse bought Vivere, and I think I was in a 2-year period of time, a transitionary period of time at Virgin Pulse where, I was VP on a global engineering team and building out some teams and really taking the things out of the Vivere system that they wanted on the Virgin Pulse side. So it was fun. It probably wasn't my long-term plan, and probably wasn't their long-term plan to have me there anyway. So coincidentally, I bumped into Michael Nadu.
Oh, really?
Really in the hallway, and it was a kind of like we were both like,
Hey.
oh hey, what's up? And we just started a conversation, not with no intentions. We just started talking. What are you doing? What are you doing? And it turned out he had some ideas, and I had some ideas that I've kind of been brewing on. And I kind of describe it like it was like Reese's peanut butter, where peanut butter and chocolate came together.
Yep.
And it just worked out. So Michael and I were talking and forming some ideas. Me knowing my time at Virgin Pulse would be coming to an end. He wanted to get back into software, doing software things. And he had a really good idea to build a hiring platform, kind of a whole different twist on hiring, which we've done. But back then it was just an idea. So we talked, and we ended up forming Engineering11. I think 2.5 years ago. I'm not great with remembering the dates.
Oh, no worries.
So my transition from Virgin Pulse to that was again another smooth transition. I was very fortunate to kind of jump right into there. So we started Engineering11, and shortly after that, very shortly after that, we started working on this product called CNECT.
Mhm.
So,
And then what does Engineering11 do, just in layman's terms for folks?
so Engineering11's a company that builds large-scale SaaS platforms for the most part. We're working on a data integration product also, but generally, our main bread and butter is building large-scale SaaS platforms. So there we have 4 platforms right now. CNECT is our big one. That's the big hiring platform. By the way, it's spelled CNECT, and it's at connected.com, so CNECTED.com, if anyone wants to go see it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. CNECT is a hiring platform, but also the foundations for a new private unsearchable business network.
It's fascinating. I was looking at it a couple of days ago. It's a competitor to LinkedIn, but it's a very unique competitive offering. And it's got great user interface as well. The graphical design is amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, we're really fortunate to have this guy named Austin, who's I call him our technical artist. He's pretty amazing. So we have beautiful UX, which is great. But yeah, it's we don't look at it as a competitor to LinkedIn. Really, we look at it as it's an additional place.
Yep.
And we have this picture on our website, and I always call it the missing tooth picture, where in the world of social, there's Facebook and Snapchat and LinkedIn and on and on. LinkedIn's really the only business network out there.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is amazing. Like it serves its purpose extremely well. We're not looking to take down LinkedIn or compete with them.
Yeah.
The things that LinkedIn doesn't have a lot of are privacy. And so we felt like really two things. There's the privacy part, and then there's the connections part, where on LinkedIn I have thousands of connections, and truly I might know 500 of them.
Yeah.
And then possibly I really want to stay tightly connected with 100 of them. And that's kind of just one of the things. It's what LinkedIn is, and it's great. What we're trying to do is add a supplemental network where it's private, it's unsearchable. We don't want the ads, we don't want the humble brags, we don't want the posturing. We want kind of a place to put your career.
Yeah.
So and build a true network.
It's like that was one of the most bizarre concepts when I was first using your solution, and it was just so weird to think like I can't just search my friend's name and see his whole profile and everything about him. It's a very unique, really interesting idea.
Yeah. It's and again that part of it kind of evolved, and it started out as a hiring platform, and I don't want to take anything away from that, because it really is the best place to tell your story. Get rid of your resume. We don't, resumes are ridiculous nowadays.
Oh yeah.
Even though everybody still uses one, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, and I think there's a stat, I can't remember what it was in one of our ads, that resumes were invented in like 1892 or, something like that. And they really haven't changed.
Yeah.
Except, you don't write them on a tablet anymore. You type them in. But in any case, resumes are certainly outdated. I think we all can see that and agree to that.
Oh, yeah.
CNECT has this amazing way to, you can upload your resume and it'll generate you a digital profile.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and then we have a first impression video, we call it, where you can do a really short video and introduce yourself. So tell your story a little bit. So
yeah,
and then you can use that to apply to jobs within CNECT and external to CNECT. You can download it as a PDF. You can generate a shared link, and all these things can be private as well. So if I can generate a link for you, or employer 1, employer 2, employer 3, then I can take those links away if I want to.
All
so. It's kind of built around that whole concept that you control your data.
Yeah.
And that's really something we're trying to support and get to.
That's a unique value prop. It's definitely the opposite of LinkedIn. I mean, LinkedIn, I know a lot of my, a lot of IT directors I talk to, a lot of IT leaders, many of them are frustrated with the sheer volume of, in-mail and in-messages and requests from all the sales reps, and, then all the technical guys, all the recruiters are going after them. So it seems like those two power groups of people just bombard everyone, and it can be a little overwhelming if you're not on top of your LinkedIn inbox, or you're not expecting it, and all of a sudden you got 28,000 connections, all these notifications. It's like, what is going on here?
That's right. It's noisy.
Oh, very.
But it serves a great purpose, though.
Absolutely.
That we're not going to even try to go to or compete with, and it is great if you want to market your product. what could be a better place than LinkedIn?
True.
Even if, you want to tell the world you're looking for a job, it's, you can do that very easily in LinkedIn. On our platform, you can't do that, but you can passively look for a job with nobody knowing, which a lot of people want to do. So
that's very true. Cause I mean, there's that option on LinkedIn where you can change your picture, frame or the frame of your picture where you can say like, we're hiring. So, reach out to that person if you want a position at that company. And then you also have the ones that's like open to work. Then all the recruiters and everyone knows like, hey, they're trying to find a role, send them a message or, try to connect with them and see if maybe the two areas meet together.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. And that is really cool. And then what do you think is going to be, or what was the biggest challenge thus far building this out or
building CNECT?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big project. Like it really is a big project. We're a startup company. We don't have unlimited resources, so right. It's actually been a lot of fun, but it's also been challenging because we're trying to do some pretty big things, and we have a relatively small team. Not even close to LinkedIn or anything like that, or Indeed or whatever. So it's been a challenge that. To get the features we want, get the robustness, get the depth we need in a product of this scale, with the team size that we have. So one of the ways we do that is, Engineering11 is really a different kind of model than most companies have probably ever heard of. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold.
No worries.
Engineering11 has what we call a closed open source model. Mm-hmm. So companies that are our partners, so CNECT's a partner of Engineering11. We have 3 other platforms. They're also partners. We're talking to a couple other prospects, so to speak, in this world. And all of our partner companies get to participate in this closed open source model. And it works just like open source, except that it's not open. It's only open to the companies that work with Engineering11.
That's pretty cool.
And we have a wealth of things that enable rapid platform development. Excuse me. Man.
That's key. When you have an idea, you just want to be able to run with it as fast as possible. You need some technical resources that are going to help you get from point A to point B, because a lot of the time when it comes to these business ideas, it's, who's first to market, who can get the most market share. I mean, just look at Uber and Lyft. I mean, Uber just had such a big lead on Lyft. I don't think Lyft, a lot of people are skeptical or pessimistic if they'll be able to catch up to get all those customers. But being first pays a little off.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of parts to every single platform that, a lot of people don't realize, I guess, that, I know a lot of technical architects do, but, there's a lot of commodity to a platform. And, everybody needs to auth, everybody needs to register, everybody needs user, everybody needs messaging, everybody needs notifications, on and on. There's all these things. So we built a lot of packaged SDKs in this closed open source world that all these companies can contribute to and benefit from. And it's really working out almost better than we thought it would. It's really fun to see how company A can produce something that they need, and then company B can benefit from that, and then company B does something, and company A benefits from that.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
It's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes the investment that much more worthwhile because you're getting that much more resources and you're kind of all teaming up together.
That's right.
Yeah, that is really. What's the most unique challenge that has come your way, or most unique project perhaps at Engineering11?
The most unique project. So we've had a lot of challenges, and I will say it's been really fun. And when I say challenges, we have a really smart team. So I've been able to cultivate people over time. I've been through a lot of startup stuff, and I've got to know a lot of people. So at Engineering11, we tried to really handpick the right people to start this up. We use a principal model where we don't have a lot of hierarchy there. We don't have VPs and director. We have a VP, but there's no hierarchy. So we all just work as a big team, and we don't have middle management. But we do have principals. So we have principal product manager, principal software engineer, principal UX, and these down the line of disciplines.
Yeah.
And these principals are all highly skilled, highly talented people that are unbelievably good at their craft. Mm-hmm. So we leverage them to drive the discipline of a lane within product development, and it's worked out really well. So the only way we can do what we do is to work with a high level of discipline. So consistency is really, really important in our world, because if we're going to do all of these things, you can't learn something every day when you're trying to add a new feature or whatever else. And by learn something, I mean, you get into the code, or you get into the Jira board, or you get into wherever, and you have to learn it. Our model is a highly consistent model where you really don't have to. We use a highly consistent set of design patterns. We compose our software the same way. Everything is extremely consistent. And it doesn't mean we don't innovate. It doesn't mean we don't introduce new design patterns and new ways of doing things, but it just means that we do it in a highly disciplined way, and that everybody understands, hey, here's a new way to do X, Y, or Z. We're introducing it here. You don't have to use it. You don't have to go retrofit everything, you can, but this is a new way of doing X, Y, or Z, and we want to use this going forward. But everybody knows, everybody understands why and how, and all that kind of stuff. So that's one of the ways being able to scale up so quick and build 4 platforms, get them into production in 2.5 years.
Oh, wow. 2.5 years and get all 4 up?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's definitely something you can only do by having a very lean, kind of a flat team, because a lot of the bigger companies, the things that slow down every process from getting a purchase order to getting something deployed, is usually those 12 to 15 layers of bureaucracy and sign-offs and getting extra signatures and having everyone put their stamp of approval on it. And I always question what value that brings, or if that's just about ego stroking. But whatever the purpose, or whatever reason they do it, it slows down the process. So that is so impressive. 4 apps in 1 year or 2 years. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's been quite a run, and it's just it proves out the model that we set out to develop, and it's really pretty cool, pretty exciting.
Is the goal to eventually do another IPO for Engineering11, or
there's with Engineering11, there's really no goal, and all these products that we work on are their own companies. So Engineering11 itself is this small privately owned thing. It's intellectual property kind of company, and we're not. Every single product we build has its own either LLC or Inc.
Idea.
And if there's a licensing agreement between Engineering11 and these companies where it's a full blown license where they can contribute with all the closed open source things. They can submit PRs. They can drive direction. They can get a copy of it if they want, and they want to go their own way. Great. If CNECT takes off and needs to go in its own direction, great. Here you go.
Yeah.
Here's a copy. Have fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been quite a bit of fun, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's a unique concept, and I think over the last couple of years we've really proven it out.
Absolutely. So what was the biggest challenge, or of the 4 apps, what was the one that was kind of most interesting to work on, or what was something that really kind of was a curveball that you guys might had to overcome?
One of our products, it didn't come out of the blue, but it's something that none of us had ever thought of. We built a product called In-Stock Depot, and it's a marketplace for large-scale construction contractors.
Really?
For example, yeah. So they have, I didn't know this at the time, and none of us did, that these large-scale contractors have big warehouses full of supplies that they don't need.
It's like all the materials for the buildings and such.
That's right. So let's say they're working on a high-rise and they ordered 300 doors, and they're the wrong color, or things like that, or they didn't fit quite right, or the customer wanted to change we really want glass doors.
Customer did a change order. They just basically nulled and canceled it. So now you got a whole warehouse of those doors.
Exactly.
And you have to pay to store them, and who the heck knows when you're going to use them. So that's a brilliant idea. Is it kind of set up like a online marketplace, like an eBay, or is it more peer-to-peer, like they sign in, they can see what other materials are on the market, and then they themselves can put it on, or what's the kind of breakdown like for that?
Yeah, so the idea is that anybody can go register and be a buyer in Stock Depot. There probably won't be a lot of interest in most people because nobody wants 100 doors.
Yeah.
But,
I love weird stuff like that. Personally, I love those liquidation sites, and they're just fascinating.
yeah. So, so anybody can register and be a buyer. If once you register to be a buyer, then you can apply to be a seller. So
Cool.
there's, if you're legit, you can become a seller through this application process. You have to set up some, monetary things. We have to approve your business and all these things. But, once you're a seller, then it's like Facebook Marketplace kind of thing where they can go just list items for sale, and they show up in the search, and people can say, hey, I need this box of 3,000 tiles, 3,000 boxes of these tiles you have, and they message back and forth and agree on a price. There's a set price, and people can just click buy it.
Oh yeah, like buy it now on eBay or something like that.
Exactly. So if they all the purchasing happens in the platform. So
So it's an e-commerce as well.
Yes.
So you secure the transaction on there.
That's right. So
that's key. That's one of the biggest concerns when it comes to online buying stuff, whether it be, that's why a lot of people trust eBay, is because they'll have those, like, I know they purchased PayPal, kind of facilitate all those transactions, because you can trust it. Because if you got screwed over, you could file a claim and then PayPal will cover you. That's kind of that's why they earn their commission, basically. And for some websites, it's kind of like the Wild West. It's like, okay, you gotta send a wire transfer or, check, and which I don't recommend to anyone, but it's just that fear slows down business dramatically. And I'm sure it just destroys sales. Like, if you don't have that trust, no one's going to use it. So the fact that you can have that all in-house and you can facilitate that transaction between the multiple parties, that's invaluable.
Yep. So that's exactly what we do. And so we take, InStock Depot gets a little piece off the top. That's how it makes its money. And
Absolutely.
we distribute the funds to where they're supposed to go, and that's kind of it. And then the buyer and the seller have to work out the exchange of the product, whether it's shipping or pickup or, whatever it happens to be.
That's awesome. Is that all over the U.S.? Are you guys kind of focusing on a certain geography, or just anywhere in the world?
It's, anywhere in the U.S.
Cool.
Yeah, and we're just starting to launch it right now. So we have, two contractors that are spinning up right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and adding all their items. So yeah.
Is it as simple as, you go into the warehouse, take a couple pictures with the smartphone, throw them in the app, send a request price, and
pretty much?
Awesome.
You go in there with an iPad probably, and you take your picture and you type in, the brand, the type, the description, the quantity, the price. You put your location on a map of approximate location. And you can add in you can add manufacturing number, part number, all these things if you want. And that all ends up in the full text search. So if someone's looking for a very specific part number,
even easier.
They can just copy that there, and if there's one there, if it's in stock, they can buy it. So
what's the most unusual item you've had on the platform thus far?
In the test environments, there's some really funny things.
Oh, really?
I can't remember off the top of my head. Like, somebody was selling a software engineer, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Just people joking around, but it's just weird things, that I don't know, things most people never think of. Just construction parts. There's obviously things everybody knows, like doors and windows and things like that, but there's I don't know, a piece of metal.
Moldings, screws.
Yeah.
A lot of those designs are pretty granular in terms of, sometimes the end user has a very specific needs on, they want this exact type of fastener to be used, and if it's off by a little bit, or maybe the buyer just made it a little bit, instead of doing SKU 1113, you got 1114, and the difference is, a penny size different engraving on it or something like that. It's end user doesn't want it, but someone out there is going to want that unique design.
That's right, exactly. And they probably won't be able to get it very quickly nowadays either.
No, that's another, brilliant timing to start this too, because a lot of people are they're looking more to find these materials. So they're not just going through the usual purchasing outlets. And as companies are trying to, get the best ROI and increase, the revenue, it's a great idea to clear out those warehouses, because a lot of people may not realize, paying for space is expensive. Even if you own the warehouse, you're paying to heat it, cool it, secure it. And if you can use that for more pertinent materials, or, materials that will for sure be used for a project, that's much better use of capital, as opposed to, storing a product indefinitely and just hoping someday you'll use it, kind of like IT guys save cables for, 30 plus years, because you might need that one doohickey or that one dongle. And I admit I've done it too. I've got the closet little drawer of all the IT cables it might ever possibly need.
Yeah. Yeah. I've thrown out a box full of cables, I don't know, once every 5 years. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to need these.
You have more self-control than most. I mean, most people are like, but I might need that one obscure cable from 1983 or something. If I want to, well, if I find it, I need it. It's like, well, I mean, usually the rule is if you haven't touched an item or used an item in a year, probably not going to need it in the future. That's kind of how I look at it. If I'm clearing out the rental home or trying to think if I should purge an item, it's like, if I haven't touched or utilized this item in a year, is it really worth hanging on to or storing it? It's like, probably not.
Yeah, exactly.
And then what's the other startup of the big four or the other company that Engineering11 has developed?
Yeah, so we have a compliance platform. It's really in the, focused on the EGRC space.
Mm-hmm.
So, way to keep your policies, standards, procedures, do your trainings, automate the whole process, automate onboarding in that context. Yeah, it's a pretty cool project. And I think there's things out there. It's EGRC is a gigantic space.
Oh yeah,
I think it's projected to double, triple, in the next 10 years.
I believe it.
It's a pretty exciting space. We're just a ripple in the water at the moment, but, we have a lot of hopes and plans for C2 to do some different things. I think there's opportunity to do things different than what's out there today. The reality is most people don't read policies. They're kind of like terms of use where,
yeah,
it's
95
IT
pages.
will send you this list of policies once a year, and nobody reads them. They just click, okay, I read them, and then you stumble through the little test, and hopefully you get them right.
Exactly.
So, I think there's a lot of opportunity to make them more consumable. We're experimenting with some really cool AI, with GPT-3 and some of the newer models out there that are actually scary, amazing.
Oh yeah.
But I think there's ways that you can summarize these things. You can make them more consumable. You can deliver things in smaller pieces over time versus here's 12 policies that you're never going to read.
Yeah.
And there's this whole notion that we've been driving towards of asynchronous communication. And really, if you think about CNECT, our hiring platform, that's what we're driving with CNECT, is that's how we live and work and communicate today, right? Everybody's sending text, everybody's on Snapchat, everybody's on whatever, WhatsApp.
Yep.
That's how we, at work, everyone's on Teams, everyone's on Slack. Yep. That's just how we work and we communicate, and we expect to do that way.
Yeah.
If I need to ask you a question, I'm not going to pick up the phone and call you probably.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you a message. And then I'm going to expect a response back at some point in the future.
Yeah.
Right? So we built this entire framework around asynchronous communication at Engineering11 that is really, it's heavily modeled after Slack, Teams, and Discord. So it's a really pretty cool notion that, it's one of the foundational elements of CNECT, our hiring platform, but it's also going to be a foundational element for other things that we build. So we believe that that's, a lot of business apps are going to be driven through those that kind of mechanism of communicating and working. So, in the context of compliance, why can't you break things up into small pieces, and why can't you learn over time, and why can't you have consumable pieces of information that get fed to you and actually learn it and actually understand it versus you have a chore once a year, that really all it does is serve the purpose of protecting the company's ass, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Me, I don't know if
that's it's completely
okay word to use on here.
Oh, I'm cool.
But that's essentially what the
That's
compliance programs do is they say, yeah, everybody's read and accepted the policies, and if they don't break them, it's not our fault.
Yeah.
Right? So that, so there's a lot of places we could go with it.
It kind of reminds you of your startup or the other company, Bavaria, where you got to try to think of how do we make this actually interactive and interesting to the end users so they actually do want to comprehend and all that data that you're trying to put out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of those compliances, it really traditionally it is once a year you turn on the video, press mute, open up another tab, do something else, and at the end you take the quiz because more often than not, there's not like a timeout. It's not like you have unlimited chances to get the quiz right. So it's like, well, what's my time worth and how interesting are these trainings? They're never, ever interesting. I mean,
exactly.
So if you could, that's a huge business value. If you can make that interesting and just that much more effective, that's going to have a tremendous impact.
Yeah. It'd be very cool.
Yeah. And then, out of curiosity, what do you like to do outside the office? You said you like to. Are you in a couple of leagues with the hockey, or?
Yeah, well, right now I play in 2 leagues, kind of, and then we do a skate on Sundays. So I've been skating here since '97.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, that's when I moved here. There's a group of guys. At that time we were all young, and we all played a pretty competitive hockey league here in Dallas, and we kind of played against and with each other for 20 years. And now, a lot of the guys are kind of done with the leagues. A lot of younger people are coming in the leagues, and
Yeah.
you know, um, when you get to a certain age, you're not really interested in fighting,
Yeah.
on a Tuesday night at
Yeah.
9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
So we have this skate on Sundays, and we do that once a week. It's a lot of fun. No refs, no scorekeepers, just
Yeah.
basically really good pond hockey. We go up and down the ice, get great exercise, and have beers afterwards.
That sounds awesome. Do you guys still do like the full paddings and everything like that, or what kind of gear you guys throwing on?
Yeah, I mean, we wear full gear, except most of us don't wear shoulder pads. They're just not really needed in what we do. So, but yeah, otherwise it's pretty full gear.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I might have to sign up one of these days. Take that off my bucket list.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Dave.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. Topping Talks is also on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast. Don't forget to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your enemies, heck, tell anyone. Just stay safe. Y'all have a great day. Topping Talks.